And kicking things right off, we want to talk to our friend Jasmine Canick, social political media commentator. Hello, Jasmine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. So Mayor Eric Garcetti went to have a town hall meeting in South Los Angeles yesterday, and there was some unfortunate, I think, interaction with he and the Black Lives Matter protesters. How did that all unfold?
Okay, well, first of all, it wasn't in South LA. It was actually in an area you could call West Adams or Mid-City. We have this thing in Los Angeles as Angelenos where we want to label anything on the, south side of the 10 freeway as South LA.
That's true.
But those of us who really know the geographical boundaries of South Los Angeles know that Crenshaw and Adams isn't necessarily South Los Angeles. So I think that's one issue in itself, right? Because in Los Angeles, we like to label things that we do for African Americans and the Latino community as being in South LA in terms of politics. And
right.
That wasn't a South LA town hall.
That's just the Shaw for me. If I were to say that neighborhood for me, that's the Shaw. I don't look at it as anything else.
You could say that.
Yeah.
It's been pretty gentrified. I've lived over there for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think what happened last night, and I didn't go, but I think what happened is that the mayor is realizing that all is not well with him in the African-American community. Now, I supported Mayor Eric Garcetti when he ran against Wendy Gruhl. I was in that camp, and if you remember, Wendy Gruhl had most of the African-American support at the time when she ran against Garcetti when it got down to the two of them. And I think that the mayor is realizing, one, you cannot continue to operate. First of all, this town hall meeting was like some top secret meeting. It was done online only. There were no flyers. You didn't see any advertisements in the black newspapers or in the African-American radio stations. There was, if you're trying to talk to folks in South LA, you definitely did not reach out to the folks in South LA. So I think that's one of the things that I know for a fact, because I heard from Black Lives Matter folks, that really upset them. It's like, okay, so are these sort of the good, acceptable black people you want to talk to?
Right. That was my question. Why would you even hold something like that if you were going to keep it so kind of clandestine?
Right, exactly. But again, sometimes in politics, we sit around and come up with these ideas, and we think they're great ideas, and they turn out to not be so great. This was one of those examples, and I hope that Mayor Garcetti understands that you cannot do that to the black community. You cannot separate out, the good blacks versus what you think are the bad blacks. Everybody who lives east of Crenshaw, and because no one wants to go on Normandy and Florence and have a town hall. No one wants to go to Central and Manchester, which is really South Los Angeles, right?
Right.
But we go over into these neighborhoods that we like to refer to as safe black neighborhoods, right? Lavert Park, Baldwin Hills. And, when you're talking about issues around, I think I read this in the LA Times, you want to talk about jobs, or you want to talk about police brutality, police issues. Those are the people, for the most part, who are being affected by, right? Because you're talking about people who are 50 and older, they're African Americans, 50 and older, married, they're either retired or they're about to retire. So the people who are most concerned about police brutality in terms of the African-American community are those folks who live in the heart of South LA, who are having those interactions with the police, who are part of that group of Angelenos that is unemployed and can't seem to find employment in Los Angeles, but you don't really want to talk to those people. You want to talk to, it seems, and this is just from what I've observed, you want to talk to people who aren't going to give you any feedback that you're not going to like. And I think that Mayor Garcetti really got a rude awakening last night just in terms of where he's at with the African-American community. And if he thinks for 1 second that Black Lives Matter folks and people who support them or think like them don't vote, he is sadly mistaken.
And is this hopefully going to be a wake-up call to not only Mayor Garcetti, but his staff, that maybe he should reevaluate how he reaches out to the African-American community in the city?
It has to be. I mean, part of the issue with, and just so you know, like my background, I come from Congress, I've worked in politics for a long time. Part of the issue with staffers is that we get these like 20-year-olds fresh out of college, or, they're really, really young and they're really, really idealistic, but they don't really, really know the community, And
Right.
so I think that's part of the issue. He has these staffers who he's kind of identified as, you deal with the black people. And, they're super young, and they don't really know much about the community that they're dealing with. Because there's no way in the world I would have allowed my boss to label a town hall meeting as a South L.A. town hall on Crenshaw and Adams, because that's not South L.A.
Right.
I just wouldn't do that.
And maybe is there some need to then kind of look past I'm sure there's a lot of fear in not only in Mayor Garcetti's camp, but in just in general with local politics, where they don't want to say that there's any type of difference between the black community east of the 10 and the black community in Beverly Hills. Is there a need to maybe look past that and just finally address the reality of the city and say, hey, no, I do need to go to the Watts Towers. I do need to go to what really is South LA and talk to people who actually need to hear their message most.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is a need to finally have that conversation. I mean, when people run for office, I'll just give you an example with Gruhl and Garcetti. When they both ran for office, their quote-unquote, black offices for their campaigns were both on Crenshaw. Nobody wanted to go, and nobody still wants to go east of Crenshaw in terms of having a campaign office for people running in the area, right? The only people who end up having offices east of Crenshaw in terms of South LA are people who actually have no choice, like the 9th District, for example, right?
Right.
Which is majority of all of South LA, and a little sliver of it, I think, belongs to the 8th Council District. Hey, that person, which is Curran Price, has no choice. You can't be on Crenshaw. We do need to have a conversation about that because, again, what's been happening with Garcetti is that he is separating out who he wants to identify as good blacks versus bad blacks. That is a topic of conversation that's been going on for quite some time in the African-American community, and it's going to backfire on him.
Yeah, I could see that. And I really hope that the message, probably the intended message with the protesters last night, isn't going to then just instill more fear into the Garcetti camp and be like, well, look, I tried to visit the black community, and look, they prevented me from getting to my car.
I could tell you. I have some stories I could tell you, but I will not, because I don't want my phone ringing. But let me tell you this. I think that when they caught Mayor Garcetti going out the back door of his residence when they were protesting, that was the beginning of the end, or at least a sign that there is a big problem.
Yeah.
And I think that Garcetti didn't take that very seriously. As a matter of fact, I mean, every time they write about the mayor now pretty much in the L.A. Times and they mention Black Lives Matter, they always make sure to throw that in there, right? That he was the backdoor mayor, that he got caught. And I think that maybe he needs to have a sit-down with, Council President Herb Wesson and the new council member Marquise and maybe council member Price and really have a conversation about how to deal with the black community, because I think right now he's failing at it.
Yeah. I really appreciate your take on this, Jasmine. Where can people get in touch with you when they need to?
Oh, sure. I'm at Jasmine on Twitter, JASMYNE, and the same thing on Facebook, facebook.com/Jasmine, JASMYNECANNICK, and my website is jasmineonline.com.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, as always. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It is time, my friends, for Traffic on the Forge when you need it most.